Hello viewers, welcome everybody on board. It's my pleasure to welcome you for this political hour where we'll be demystifying current and prevailing political, geopolitical issues, geo-economical issues, and leadership and governance matters touching politics. To an extent, even spiritualism, because religion and politics go hand in hand. With you, it's me, your brother in service, Dr. Abdul Malik Abdul Aziz. Welcome on board. Guys, as Kenyans and patriots, we have generations and generations in our liberations for this our beautiful country. Let's try to do a bit of reflection. When we ushered in for the independence, that was 1963, we had our great-grandfathers who fought tooth and nail to liberate these countries. These were the time we had a ceasefire constitution. We had a fully fledged independence and our country was awarded to us. And then comes 1992, we had our full government with our full independence, with our full governance, with the three arms of the government, which was legislature, executive, and judiciary. But it's like our constitution had a lacuna. So the liberators then, who some of them were young Turks, the likes of Oginga Odinga, the likes of Martin Shikuku, the likes of Rubia, the likes of Kiraitu Murungi then was a young Turks. Raila was a young Turks. Orengo was a young Turks. Paul Mwite was a young Turks. Anyona was a young Turks. They did their bit. And at last we had the amendment, or rather repealing of the section 2A, where we entered in the multi-party politics. That was 1992. Indeed, will be very unfair if we will not give merits to those our young Turks then who are liberators. Then comes the election of the year 2022. We had another gem of liberators in the name of Gen Zs. But in any struggle, we do have liberators and collaborators. Immediately, the Gen Zs felt that the finance bill was not fit for the Kenyans. Immediately, they felt that there were corruption. And when talking about corruption, the EACC, Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, is established under section 3 of the Ethics and Anti-Corruption CAPE 22 of the year 2012. Its mandate is to enforce corruption measures to the leaders and governors. Unfortunately, we've seen opulence of our leaders. We've seen corruption. Even latest finding by Margaret Nyakango is that 47 counties have used over 15.8 billion unaccounted for in a very, very, very awkward ways. So Gen Zs came as a blessing in disguise. And what is a Gen Z? I've said that in every we do have generational changes. Formerly we had Generation Y, Generation Z, and the current generation is the Generation Z, whom thought that corruption was the worst part which is biting our country. Gen Zs thought that the political betrayal was the worst in our countries. Gen Zs thought that parliament was compromised. And true to our words, the three judges bench have pronounced the Kenya Kwanza government to be the minority while the Azimio is the minority. And that's why the Gen Zs occupied the space in the parliament. And that's why the Gen Zs shouted down the finance bill 2023-2024. That's when our leaders came to their senses. Because during elections, we had a manifesto, we had a binding contract with them, we had a social contract with them, and they promised up the bottom-up approach. By then, it was the tussle between the Azimio and Kenya Kwanza. Both had manifestos, but it's like the Kenya Kwanza formation win the heart of Kenyans, and they were elected as what? As the incumbent party with their leader to lead the country. Unfortunately, immediately after being sworn in, he changed the narrative. It was not bottom-up approach, but it was up-down, up-bottom approach. We never saw any young Turks being involved in the leadership. We never saw Mama Mboga. We never saw the border guys in the piki. Instead, he was giving favors to his right-hand men and women, the loyalists. So that was then the tax was raised to the brim, which common man couldn't manage. But apart from those shortcomings, the prices of essential commodities somehow got reduced. We saw that the president declined to supply subsidies on the consumable goods, but he injected a lot of money on production, and that's when the flour got decreased, the petroleum prices got decreased, and life is somehow affordable, though there are no money in our pockets. What does this say? Our GDP, it's being touted out there that it has declined to 4.8 from 9.9. But how do you define the GDP of a country? It's when a common man has some money in his pocket. There are a lot of unemployment among the youth, and mark you, the youth constitutes 60% of our population. This is where Gen Z matters. So, going forward, being that they've shown that they are so daring, that they know their rights and they know what they want, by so occupying the parliament, then Gen Zs must come out in numbers. 1, to register. 2, to demand for their rights in a civilized and a decorum way. Going on board online using abusing memos and avatars and emojis is not the right way. They should do it in a decorum. While at the same time seeking space in the negotiating tables, and they can't be on negotiating tables by not being actively involved in politics. What am I trying to say? If the Gen Zs registers in numbers as voters, they will be the determining factors in Kenyan politics. How? They constitute 60%. Presently, Kenyans are 58 to 60%. If you're 58 to 60 million, which translates to Gen Zs being over 35 million, assume that 20 million Gen Zs registered as voters and comes to cast their votes, automatically Gen Z will be in leadership. Right from MCA's level, right to the MPs, to the senators, to the women rep, even to the governors. And who knows? We can even have a Gen Z president. But my caution, I'm above Gen Z realm, is that they should not allow their movement to be inflated by these same politicians with the same narratives. They are fresh in minds, they are techno-savvy, they are educated, and they have resources. What am I trying to say? If Gen Zs are over 35 million and they've decided to contribute their 20 bob, these will be translated to over 7 billion, which is enough to machine their campaigns. So if we want true liberators of this country, it is Gen Zs. And the time to act is now. Viva Gen Zs, welcome on board to change the scenario of Kenyan politics.